Hello and welcome to another Modern Commerce Talk session from Avensia. As always, I'm your host, Jack Stratton, Senior Consultant at Insider Trends. Delighted to be joined today once again by Jens Axelsson, a Senior Commerce Advisor and an expert on loyalty at Avensia, who I've spoken to frequently. And also we've got a guest today, Jacob Schonander from TriggerB. He is the Commercial Director and Co-Founder. Good morning, Jacob.
Good morning. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for finding the time and nice to see you again, Jens.
Same to you, Jack.
So today, in light of having TriggerB on, an Avensia partner and a really, really interesting business, we're going to be talking all about personalization and relevance. So let's start with that as an introductory question, and I pass that to either of you. Why is relevance and personalization so important?
Well, that's a really good question, Jack. And basically, I think that in today's shopping society, I think it's basically everything. It's all about, meet the customer expectations and needs. And since the customer's driving forces are basically, based on that every time as me as a customer meet a new, better or more relevant shopping experience, the preferences and the expectations are raised to a new higher level. So based on that, not mentioned, the competitiveness, etc. We know today that it's basically impossible to drive loyalty if you don't have a well-functioning communication strategy and management around relevance. Relevance drives loyalty, simple as that.
Mm.
And can I just add, I think it also, the customer expects it.
Mm.
If you don't are relevant today, you shouldn't communicate with your customers.
Yeah, and I also believe that, this is perhaps the main reason why, the subject MarTech is one of the most important areas for growth within commerce when it comes to change work, but also the willingness to invest in the coming years for companies.
And so on this point, you've both mentioned it a couple of times, which is great, the fact that this is all about customer expectations. So what are the customer expectations when it comes to personalization? Give us an idea of what that looks like.
Well, okay, let me start what I believe. First of all, today's customers, they are very used of, giving away information about their, personal information and so on. But what have happened recently in the last year is that as a customer, I expect brands to use that information in a respectful way that both improves and enhances my relationship and experience with the brand. So basically, as a customer, if I sign up or I'm giving additional personal data, preferences, etc., me as a customer, I set the following counter requirements to continue to be loyal to a brand. And that is basically, show me that you know me, inspire me, engage me, and reward me. So the expectations from the customer perspective has been raised a lot on how the information about me are used. And I expect that it's used in a very personal and relevant way.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I also think, it's just looking in our inbox. Our inbox is so much information that we are not interested in at all. And it's just easy for the companies to send it out. But if they want to be relevant, they should really look of what I'm interested in and how I would like to be communicated. And also use my loyalty program, if they have one, to really give me what I think is most important.
Yeah, definitely. One thing that's important to just underline here is, of course, that relevance and personal experience must be seen as omnichannel and cross-functional. In terms of relevance and personalization, the customer makes no difference between if it is an email send out or if it is treatment in customer service, or if it is, for instance, a shopping experience online. And what we can see is, of course, that the relevance and the personal shopping experience is the poorest to perhaps the most modern media, which is online. So for instance, I mean, getting a product recommendation when shopping online based on what I previously clicked on or bought is today a hygiene factor, you know. But you know, relevance engines for e-com and online, they can do a lot about, you know, or from the behavior data, but they are limited to actual products. But on the other hand, I mean, relevance and personalization are so much more than only the product. I mean, for instance, the communication, guidance, promotions, rewards, etc. And I mean, all this is basically handled through the CXP or the CDP in form of, you know, insight-based direct communication through traditional channels. But when it comes to online, many companies out there really needs to lift their experience radically around this area. And there are very few retailers that meet the customer expectations today when it comes to, you know, really, you know, relevance and personalization online apart from the products.
Yeah. So it's all about knowing your customer and using all the data that you can get, and you need to be dynamic because I mean the data changes every visit from a client. The client's going to look for something new, and when they do, you need to add that information and use that to give the best personal experience.
It's starting to feel like, exactly as Jens put it, hygiene factors very quickly. This is all just becoming something that has to be done at every level of commerce. This brings us naturally, I think, to the point of asking a little bit about TriggerB. So what is TriggerB and what are the benefits? How does TriggerB help to solve some of these challenges that we talked about?
TriggerB is a SaaS company that has a software to make it possible to identify persons when they visit the website, down to each person when we look at if they come from an email, if they sign up in a form, log in or do something. So based on that, we also look at what they're interested in on the website in the visit and take that information and send it directly into the CDP that the client has. And then you should use that information when the customer comes back or when the customer visits to give them the relevant information. So we don't want to ask a person that are a member if they want to sign up again. I mean, that's just something that's really bad. Instead, you want to ask a person if they're a member and say, cheers, welcome back. We hope that you can find what you're looking for. And I think that's a two-way communication that if you go into a store and you go to the vendor and you can ask them, do you have these pants in my size, in this color? If you can do that online, you're going to get the best possible service as a customer. And that's going to give you a really good competitiveness against your competitors. So I think it's really more and more personal to give the clients what to strive for.
Yeah, and Jens, to bring you in on that, it strikes me that all has a lot of very obvious benefits for customer experience and loyalty, which of course is your area.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, TriggerB as a tool, which is extremely user-friendly, of course. It should be seen as the seal between the CDP or the CXP and the web platform, with the ability to truly capitalize on customer insights, even online, apart from only products. It could be various different, you know, variables or customer data that can be used to package communication through TriggerB and trigger it on site through TriggerB as a tool. So it's extremely, you know, both user-friendly, but also a variety on the ways that you can package this in terms of design and how to communicate online or on site with the specific customer, depending on their behavior, their, you know, shopping history, etc., etc. But not only by, you know, capitalize on data, TriggerB is also fantastic in terms of, you know, pulling additional data from the customers to enhance, the customer insights even more, and trigger it back to the CXP and the CDP.
And adding to that, I mean, the message on the website, it should be look and feel from each customer's point of view. You should be able to have different messages depending on where the client are in their customer journey. And it should be really easy to do this. So you can do a lot of different campaigns and have them and show to the right persons. So that's what we also make it possible in TriggerB to edit and do the campaigns and target them based on the audience history or their interest or anything.
That's really interesting, because it sounds to me like that's the kind of experience I feel like I have online with big businesses, and it strikes me that what you're talking about here is a tool that can be applied almost anywhere and everywhere. It's very easy. Once you've built it in, it's actually very easy to use and implement and everything else. So that's pretty exciting to, I guess, to a lot of businesses out there to be able to get something probably very usable. It's not just something that's only kind of you only have if you've got an enormous team of your own developers or something.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, the thing here is that we listen to our clients, and together with Avensia, we also see more and more possibilities of using TriggerB to really personalize on the website. And so, of course, I mean, the client should be able to do it by themselves, but it's also, we don't need to invent everything. We've done a lot, but we're going to look in the future what we can do more and more to even do it better. And if we can identify about 30 to 80% of the traffic down to their members, then it's going to give us a really big advantage compared to if you don't, because then you know that this person is already a member. So when he is a member or she is a member, then we should use that.
Absolutely.
I think that perhaps one of the easiest way to sort of benchmark what TriggerB can do on site, perhaps not the best example, but nevertheless, if you picture a really good, relevant, insight-driven email that are really nice package in terms of design, in terms of content, and make it, really, really relevant for me, you take that approach and put it in online. So it's basically the same thing that you can do, as I mentioned, but you do it online. So in that sense, you start off creating a more of an omni-channel relevant customer experience.
That's amazing. Yeah, and of course, like you mentioned rightly earlier, that becomes almost invisible to the customer. It's just everything they want everywhere, and they don't see channels; they just see the personalization. Yeah,
exactly. And time is a hard currency nowadays. We know that. And everything that can help me to simplify it and enhance my experience, that is what I expect in the end. So if I are met with this kind of experience from one retailer, I expect that on from another retailer next time. So
absolutely,
that is how the way we work.
Yeah,
as a consumers.
Yeah.
And I mean, it shouldn't be an intrusion on the visit as well. So it should be really well based on when the customer are, for instance, leaving, scrolling, the timing, and everything. And it should also be embedded. Embedded is growing so much among our clients. So that means that it doesn't even look like a personal campaign, but it is. And they give really good results. So I think that's something that more and more companies should try, instead of just having a pop-up, the first thing that pop up when you go to a website. I mean, it's terrible. Hey, do you want to sign up and become a member? And you're like, I don't even know what you're doing. So how do you think I'm going to be a member?
So true. Yeah, it's such a spammy experience, that, isn't it? Screens and windows just popping up all the time. Yeah. We've unfortunately we've come to a point where we need to tie things up, but it feels like we're only scratching the surface. So I hope, Jacob, you could find time to come on again, and maybe we could go into even more depth in terms of, what TriggerB does and how you help customers, because it's really, really interesting. So just as a final point for anyone watching, if they want to find out more about TriggerB and how TriggerB works with Avensia, where should people go?
First of all, of course, I mean, Avensia and TriggerB, we are partners, and of course, we are helping customers with the implementation of the tool, but also when it comes to professional services around MarTech. So if you would like to know more about us and how we can help you increase your relevancy, you can just contact us, and we are looking forward to see how we can help you out and increase your business and your relevancy in the end.
Fantastic. But thank you both so much for your time, and no doubt we'll get together to talk about this soon. And as ever, there's tons of other talks up on the Avensia website, Modern Commerce Subjects, taking on kind of everything in the world of modern commerce. So check some of those out too. Thanks very much, Jacob, and thanks, Jens, and see you soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you.